welcome to Kids in the Kitchen. My name is Emily Marison, and I work for the Ohio State University, part of the Extension program in Coshocton County, and I'm a family and consumer sciences educator. And today, helping me in the kitchen is my son, Nathan. Nathan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am 12 years old and am in the 6th grade. I was super excited when I heard that we were doing this program because I love working in the kitchen.
Which was very convenient for me because when we found out last week that Nathan and his sister Julia, who is filming for us right now behind the camera, would be home for quite a while, and I figured that I would probably be working from home as well. I tried to think, how can I incorporate being at home with my kids all the time and then also working? And I'm very thankful for the job that I do have because they can help me do my work. So I wanted you to benefit from that. One of the things that we love doing is cooking, and that's part of what I get to do as a family and consumer sciences educator. So we came up with a few recipes that we thought might be helpful for you to be able to make with either your kids or your grandkids as we are practicing social distancing and spending a lot more time at home probably than we're normally used to. So today we are going to be making 2 different recipes, and this is kind of the after of what we'll be making. The first is carrot cake pancakes with a maple cream cheese frosting or topping, and then we also have a dip that Julia is going to make for us in just a little bit that's made with peanut butter, and we'll cut up some fruit to have with that. So some good snacks,
Yes.
Or breakfast items, however you want to eat those. So I will set these aside, and we're going to start with our carrot cake pancakes. So Nathan, oh, you're right. He just said, wash your hands. We've been hearing that a lot, right? These past few days,
It's
especially.
important.
So we have some music, and you can go on over to the sink. We'll let Nathan wash his hands first.
Here I go again, guys. What you washing? Hands. Yeah, you be scrubbing, rubbing, disinfecting. Use the hot water cause it's more effective. Can't forget to get the back of your hands, no. So what you wanna do? What you wanna do? I wanna soap it up, soap it up, soap it up, hands. Don't be touching hands. Please don't be reaching out. Don't be touching me, and I won't touch you. Hand washing time. Get the soap into a foam for ya. Don't forget to clean in between the fingers.
That's great.
Okay, Nathan, what's up first?
So are we going to mix up the dry and wet ingredients?
Yeah, so the way we have this divided, also, so that everyone knows, our recipes are going to be located on our website, which is coshocton.osu.edu. Coshocton, spelled just like this, Coshocton, for those of you that are not from Coshocton County. And, we need to give a shout out to Grandma Pam, because we know that she is watching today. So if you want to follow along with the recipes, then you're welcome to go over to that website and pull those up. Right there on the front page, there's a little article with a link that can take you to those recipes. So this is what our first recipe looks like. This is adapted from a few different recipes. That's actually one of my favorite things to do, is to take a recipe, and the kids know I'm famous for never, ever really making anything exactly the same twice because I'm always trying to make it better. So this one is taken from a few different sources, and we have some dry ingredients and wet ingredients.
Okay.
So Nathan, are we all ready to go? Is there anything else we need to still do?
Do we need to add the carrots?
Yes, we need to add the carrots. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is me letting my 12-year-old use a grater live. So I trust him because he's done this many times, right?
Yes.
And what do we need to do to make sure this is safe, Nathan?
Keep your fingers away from the blades.
Very good. All right, so we're going to watch what we're doing, right? He's not going to be paying attention to me or paying attention to you. He's going to be watching exactly what he's doing. So he's already washed and peeled the carrot, and now go ahead, work your magic.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that these recipes all say is if you have a food processor, you may want to use that. I highly encourage it. This is my food processor right here. But we need 1.5 cups of carrots. So you can probably go ahead and stop then and show us what we've got underneath there. So, a few extra carrots there. And we can put those into that 1/2 cup measuring cup. So for those of you that don't have the recipe with you, what we're going to be mixing together, so for our dry ingredients, and Julie, if you want to show us what those dry ingredients look like, we have a 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour and a 1/2 cup of enriched white flour, plain flour, probably most people would call it. 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, and a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. And you're welcome to adjust those spices however you want to. And if you've got pumpkin pie spice or apple pie spice or something like that in your cupboard, those will work well as well. Then in our wet ingredients, we have 1 egg, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, a cup of milk, a tablespoon of vegetable oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1.5 cups of grated carrots. So we'll let Nathan go ahead and put those into the wet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Slides right out.
It does slide right out. Very good. All right, now as he mixes up the wet, I'm just going to go ahead and mix up the dry so we get that all incorporated. Make sure that we get that baking powder mixed around and the salt. We don't want to get like a little pocket of salt as we're eating our... Ooh, that smells good. You can smell the spices. You smell that?
Ooh, wow, that's nice.
Okay. And very carroty. All right, now I'm going to make just a little bit of a well here, though I don't have a whole lot of dry.
Okay.
And then we'll let you add in. And we add our wet ingredients into our dry ingredients to mix those together. Pancakes for us is a really special thing. So when I say pancakes, what day do you think of?
Saturday mornings.
Saturday morning. It's like the main, where I'm just going to scrape a few more extras in there, okay? And then I'll let you mix that up. Cool. And for us, though I'm sure that my mom used Bisquick or baking mix, I discovered the pancake recipe out of Betty Crocker a long time ago. And it's so simple. It's very, very easy. So that if you don't have pancake mix or Bisquick with you, it's a super simple recipe, and I might add that one onto our website as well. But this is pretty similar, but just has, the extra spices and has that carrot in there as well. So are you getting that, Julia? Can you see what it looks like inside? Good job. And we don't have to have it mixed a whole lot, just as long as you don't see any more pockets of dry ingredients. Once everything's moist,
That
looks really good.
Sweet.
We're just going to let that sit. We can probably just leave the fork right there. And we're going to let that set to the side for about 5 minutes. And meanwhile, we're going to make this little topping that goes on top of it. So if you think about carrot cake, the kind of frosting that usually goes on carrot cake is cream cheese frosting, right? So we're gonna make a little bit of a combination between cream cheese and my favorite, which is maple syrup, because all pancakes need maple syrup. So Nathan, why don't you walk us through what we're gonna do with our topping here?
Okay.
What do you have in the bowl?
So we have 1 package of smoothed, mixed up cream cheese.
Mm-hmm. So it's 4 ounces.
Yep. And we are going to add a 1/4 cup of confectioner's sugar.
And I will say, as he's mixing this, that some of these other recipes that I said that I made the adjustments to, a couple of them did not call for it. And obviously adding confectioner's sugar is not going to be the healthiest choice. But as I tasted, leaving it out completely, it actually gave me the memory My mom used to make a dessert. It was called Better Than Robert Redford dessert. And it had like a cream cheese layer and some pudding layers to it. And so as a kid, I thought cream cheese tasted like the cream cheese layer of Better Than Robert Redford dessert, which was cream cheese mixed with a whole lot of confectioners or powdered sugar. So the first time I ever tasted cream cheese, just plain, I was kind of like shocked, just really surprised at what it tasted like. So that is sort of the feeling that I got with the topping when I didn't add any kind of confectioner sugar. So that's why we put confectioner sugar in. All right, Nathan, what are we going to do next?
Okay, now we are going to add 1 tablespoon of milk. So should I put this in the sink or what?
Here, let me get you a little bowl. Okay. That way, if there's a spill, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, if we would, and sometimes that happens. Now, thankfully, we've been going through a lot of milk lately, so we're at the bottom of this gallon, plenty more in the fridge, but, and just like that, yeah, we had a little bit of extra spilling, so,
So
good idea with the extra bowl. All right, so we'll keep mixing that in.
Yep.
And a key really for this topping is to make sure that you mix each ingredient as you go. Otherwise, you're probably going to end up with like those little clumps of cream cheese.
Get it really nice and smooth.
That's great.
Okay, our next ingredient is the 2 tablespoons of real maple syrup.
And this is the way we like to drink our eat our maple syrup at our house. A whole big container. So this one might come out a little faster. So there's one. And you can certainly use another type of sugar substitute or the corn syrup type of maple syrups, but there is nothing like real maple syrup from a taste standpoint, especially. It helps to support a lot of our local maple producers that are out there. Okay, can you turn it up just a little bit so that Julia can see what you're doing? Very good. It's looking good. And one of the things in a recipe like this, I mean, obviously there's a lot of steps. There's a lot of directions for this. That's I think a great thing that happens when we're cooking with our kids is it helps them to see the importance of following directions. Because we've had a few times when ingredients have gotten left out.
Yes.
And what happens when ingredients get left out of things?
It does not always turn out the best.
Do you have any examples of that?
Actually, one time when we made regular pancakes,
Mm-hmm.
do
you remember what we left out?
Was it the baking soda, maybe?
I think with baking powder, leaving baking powder out of pancakes is not a good thing. And also, I think maybe with banana bread, you've had
I did that
times,
yes.
right? Or one time. All right, so what are we adding?
Okay, next we're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract.
Okay.
Okay. And put it right in there.
Great job. And you could certainly have these pancakes without the cream cheese topping that we're making, and you can just use maple syrup or butter, whatever else that you might want to use. So this is kind of like a sweet treat part, but it'll be pretty tasty for sure. All right, good job, buddy. So the next thing we need to do to cook these pancakes is what? We need to turn on our griddle.
Oh, okay.
Right? So why don't you go ahead and preheat it over there.
Okay.
So we're going to turn it up to about 300. Okay, so we'll let that, it heats up pretty quickly. And then we will set Nathan over there at that station. And now that means it's Julia's turn to come from behind the camera and we get to make some fruit dip. But first of all, what are you gonna do, Jules? What's your first thing you're gonna do? You're gonna wash your hands. Yeah, very good. So she washes her hands. I'll bring ingredients over. So this is pretty exciting for Julia especially, because what 4-H project are you taking this year, Julia?
I'm taking Let's Start Cooking.
Yeah, let's start cooking. Have you taken a cooking project before?
No, not yet.
What did you take in 4-H last year?
I took sewing and rabbits.
Very good. So 4-H is our youth development program, part of Extension. And if you're not familiar with that, it's a program that's offered for kids at this point that are from 5 to 19 years old. And the great thing about 4-H is that you can take a project that's about anything, really. One of those areas is food and nutrition projects. And this is a project, actually, this Let's Start Cooking, that Nathan took last year.
Yes.
And one of our favorite recipes out of this book is called the creamy peanut butter dip. And Julia is gonna, oh, that's right, we needed to use that tablespoon too. Good memory. So as soon as Julia gets all of her tools here, which is a really good point, it's always good to know what ingredients you need, but also what kind of tools you're going to need as well. Like how many mixing bowls you might need, what kind of measuring cups and measuring spoons. So in this case, we have peanut butter, we have our orange juice concentrate, which is a little bit jiggly right now because it's been in the refrigerator, so it's not completely frozen. And we have, what's our last ingredient, Julia?
Light vanilla. Non-fat yogurt.
Non-fat yogurt, yep. And you could use any kind of yogurt really for this. If you want to add a little more protein, you could have Greek yogurt, and that would be a little thicker. The yogurt that we have today, we had a little mishap with our container, so we put it into a different container. This is what we're actually going to measure out of. All right, so you need a bowl. And what's your first ingredient that's going to go in, Jules?
We need 1/4 cup peanut butter.
So 1/4 cup, oh, I will wash it for you. One of the things that I have noticed this week is just how much math my kids are doing. Oh, Nathan has the pancakes on the griddle at this point. So you can see, there they are. Oh, I can start to smell them already.
They smell really good.
Okay, so back to our peanut butter dip. We've been doing a lot with angles, both of my kids this week, but fractions are certainly one of those things that for a lot of kids, the better they can visualize what fractions are, and there is something about being able to see that with measuring cups. So talking about how a 1/4 cup of something, if you have 4 of those, that would be a cup. There's a lot of fun things that we can do from a measuring standpoint in the kitchen with our kids to help incorporate some math into that. Good spatula work. Okay, so I'll put the lid on this. And Julia will put that into her bowl. Now at first, I will tell you, when we heard what the ingredients for this dip were, we were a little, I want to say apprehensive, right? Peanut butter and orange juice and yogurt didn't sound like maybe they were going to go together very well, but we really enjoy it a lot. Do you need a little help with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes it's hard to get that little last bit out of the bottom, especially when it's a little cup like that. Huh? There we go. Okay. What's next?
Next, we need 1 tablespoon of frozen concentrated orange juice.
So it could be possible to just use some orange juice, but obviously this is going to be a lot sweeter than what just a tablespoon of orange juice would be, and if you added a lot more orange juice it might get a little too thin. So the concentrate is kind of a cool idea, and then we're just going to mix this up later and have that with our family. All right, do you need another spoon for that?
Yeah.
Dip your spoon in.
Next, we need a 1/2 cup of low-fat vanilla yogurt or Greek yogurt.
We're big fans of yogurt in our house. Well, most of us are. Not everybody likes yogurt, but we eat a lot of it, and a lot of different kinds. And this is one of those things where yogurt can actually be a big source of hidden sugar for a lot of families. You don't have to buy, there you go, good job. You don't have to buy the little containers that are packed full of sugar. One thing that I try to do is to get plain yogurt when I can, and then we put fruit in it, or we put in, there you go, or we put a little bit of honey or a little bit of maple syrup in. Again, maple syrup because it's so good. And depending on how thick your yogurt is, because different brands and different kinds of formulations can have a different consistency. Good job. This one is a little thinner than some of them that we've made before. Good job. Let me scrape the sides. All right. So after we make the dip, what is it that we need to do?
We need to cut up some apples.
So we call this a fruit dip, and you can use a variety of different kinds of fruits for that. We love apples in our house. Bananas work well. We've used grapes before, strawberries, just about any kind of fruit you can think of, whatever you like. And I didn't mention, but if you do have any peanut allergies, you can certainly use another kind of nut butter for this. You could use cashew butter or almond butter. They make just about every kind of nut butter imaginable now. So you could always substitute for another kind of nut butter. Okay, that looks great. All right, now we'll do your apples. So it looks like you've got a couple different things here, Julia. What are you planning on doing?
I'm planning on using, what's it called?
So we call it apple cutter, apple slicer.
Apple slicer
Mm-hmm.
and a knife. And I'm going to cut it a few different ways.
Okay, I'm gonna set this aside. Big muscles for this, huh? Can we help you with it? Sometimes it's hard to get it started. There, maybe that helps. Ready? Ah, good job. Okay, now if we turn them over, we can kind of push it on through or pull them apart like this. So sometimes little kitchen gadgets can be fun and helpful, especially if you're not quite ready to let your little ones use knives yet. But as you can see with that, it still is kind of tough to use unless you get a little muscle power behind it. But it makes some great little slices. It's pretty easy. Now, all right, Julia, so what are we going to do with this? So this is a sharp knife, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what should we think about when we're using sharp knives?
Watch your fingers.
Mm-hmm. Watch our fingers. Good job. I think this is one of those things. Now, this is totally up to parents and grandparents. Here, make sure that you hold on to. There you go. Of what your rules are going to be for using knives. But I think we've got a lot of kids that are out there that could be using knives safely if they were taught correctly. But they haven't been yet because parents are afraid to let them. But when you know that your kids have good dexterity, they understand the safety concept, don't be afraid to teach them how to use a knife because it's a great skill to have. I think that sometimes we could shelter our kids too much with some of these things, but we certainly want to make sure they understand that there is the potential to get hurt, but help give them some confidence that when they do it correctly, just like Julia's done a great job, that this is something that they can do and do well. It's just important to have your own rules on, what are you allowed to do when I'm home and I'm watching you and supervising you, and what kind of things are you allowed to do when I'm still at work and you've gotten off the bus and you're making your own snack. Like, are you allowed to use the oven? Are you allowed to use the microwave? Are you allowed to use a pancake griddle, whatever it might be? What kind of tools are you allowed to do? And give them some freedom to be able to do that and to make some really healthy choices that way. Great job. Well, I can smell, it looks like the pancakes are coming off back here. Nathan, those look great. So, one thing that I'm going to ask Nathan just real quick, how did you know how to flip them over? What do you look for?
There's bubbles that actually come up in, like, when the batter is first poured on the uncooked side, there will be bubbles if the other side is cooked and ready to be flipped.
Very good. Oh, this smells good. Nice job. All right, so Nathan will keep making the rest of these carrot cake pancakes. And Julia is finishing up here with our apples. And we are certainly not super fancy in our house, but sometimes it's fun to make them look a little fancy, right? Julia likes to do that and make good presentation. So what are you doing right now, Jules? What are you cutting out?
I'm taking off the inside, like the seeds and the stem.
Very good. Great. Okay. Now what are you going to do with your apple slices?
I'm going to put them around the bowl, and then inside the bowl I'm going to put the dip.
Looks a little bit like a flower. Okay, and there's your dip. Put that right into the middle. So what are you excited about for your cooking project this year?
I'm excited to eat the stuff.
To eat it. That is good. We are excited to eat what you're going to make for us too. Great. Wonderful. Okay, so pancakes are pretty much done. And our dip is done. We want to thank you for joining us today. Oh, one more time. So I'm Emily Marison from OSU Extension in Coshocton County, Family and Consumer Sciences educator. This is Julia. This is Nathan. Oh yes, there's our finished product. Today we've made carrot cake pancakes with our topping, which I set to the side. There we go. Our maple cream cheese topping, and ooh, beautiful. And we also made our creamy peanut butter dip to dip our fruit in. We learned a little bit about cutting up fruit safely. And we hope to do this more with you. So our plan is to do this once a week, and we'll announce this on Facebook. We'll also put this on our website, which is coshocton.osu.edu. You can go there to find our recipes from today. Right there on the front page, there'll be a link that will take you to where those recipes are. So thank you for joining us. We just want to give our encouragement to you that we're going to make it through these next few weeks, and we're going to have a lot of fun together. Oh, and that you should wash your hands. That was the other thing we learned to do, right? But take this time to spend some time in the kitchen with your kids. And if you've got some family recipes, this is a great time to talk about family recipes and why they're important. We might do that next time and talk about why some of the recipes that have been handed down to us are important from a family and a memory standpoint, and how that keeps us all connected, even though we can't be right beside each other. So have a great day. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.